Hello, my name is David Anderson. I'm here with my colleague Denise Lilly, and I wanted to thank everyone for allowing us to do a short presentation on a research project that we've been working collaboratively on. The title of the research project is Teacher Identity and Teacher Identity Development and Student Engagement, Social Class, and Race Ethnicity. And I will let my colleague Denise talk about the background of the study. Okay. Oops.
Hello. So for this particular study, we looked at the shifting demographics of students in United States classrooms. And what we looked at was the majority of the students that are entering our classrooms have now become students of color. We've also noticed an increased number of students who are in what we would consider low income and or poverty environments. And so particularly with this, we noticed that with these students that are entering the classrooms, there's lower achievement between black and white students. We've also noticed a significant increase in the number of students that are in poverty. And when we see the students in poverty in comparison to those students who are from a higher income family, the achievement gap has widened even greater. In our classrooms throughout the country, as I noted before, we have seen an increase of students of color as well as students who are coming from lower income families. However, 83% of the teachers in our classrooms are white and middle class teachers economically.
All right. So in order to meet the needs of this increasingly diverse classroom, with students who are lagging behind in terms of their achievement, it's really important to provide the highest quality education. And Ball and Cohen talk about 4 aspects of high quality educational environments. First, they emphasize that teachers need to focus on the total growth of the student. Second, they emphasize that teachers need advanced instructional skills. And third, they emphasize that teachers need to create an appropriate learning environment that supports student learning. But the fourth characteristic, and the one that my colleague and I want to focus on, is the importance of navigating the relationship between the content that's taught and their relationship with the student. And here we introduce the idea of the need to analyze student needs in terms of their cultural backgrounds and individualize instruction to meet those needs based in those cultural differences. Thus, culture is important. So we brought in we created a conceptual framework for our research, and it has, we created a conceptual framework for our research, and it really has 3 parts. The first part is a focus on cultural competency. As I just discussed, there are cultural differences with students, and teachers need to understand those cultural differences and be able to cross those cultural boundaries. That's the first part. The second part is, in order to understand those cultural differences, cross those borders, teachers need to go through a process of identity development, a sense of who they are in terms of these cultural differences. In this area, we bring 2 theories to bear. The first one is called the communication theory of identity. And the communication theory of identity says that somebody's sense of who they are is not just an individual process, it's individual and social. And that's captured in the 4 frames. The first frame in communication theory says teachers do reflect on a personal sense of who they are, an individual process of reflecting and thinking about their experiences. But it's not just a set of beliefs and reflection. Part of who we are happens through what they call an enacted frame. That is, what we do and the reactions to what we do are a huge part of a sense of who we are. That's at the sort of individual level. But there is a social level, and there's 2 frames addressing that. One is the relational frame. That says that our sense of who we are depends on our interactions with those people close to us and around us. It's those intersocial interactions that affect our sense of who we are. And the final one is called a communal frame. We get a sense of who we are through the media, through descriptions of ourselves in terms of social categories, such as race, social class, and gender. And the media portrays those categories in certain ways, and that frames who we are. So those are our two theories that we're bringing to bear to understand identity development for teachers in this process. The last part of our conceptual framework is systems thinking. As teachers reflect on who they are, oh, no, I'm sorry, there's a second phase, excuse me, and that's, we are also bringing an identity development theory based on Helms. That is, as teachers get a sense of who they are, as they need to cross cultural boundaries, they will go through basically a two-phase process. The first phase is abandoning a sense of prejudice and bias. If they're going to cross these cultural boundaries, they can't do this in a biased way, a prejudiced way that enables social stereotypes. And the first phase is to abandon those prejudices in terms of their sense of who they are. The second phase is to then understand the systemic nature of prejudice and marginalization and begin to define a socially just society in their mind, an image of what that is, and work towards that. So those two theories are part of the identity development theory. The last part of our conceptual framework is systems thinking. That is, as teachers move through Helms' two stages, they need to have a systemic perspective on the world. They need to see themselves as part of a system, and in particular to understand systems of privilege.